Welcome again, everybody. Today we're going to focus a lot on the Zeto Cloud platform. I'm very excited to show you this. It's usually the hardest thing to show about Zeto and what we do and how we understand the EEG world, because it's so much easier to take a picture of a headset and show you squiggly lines of EEG and all that, but it's a little bit more challenging to show what you are trying to do with the cloud. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the ecosystem and the Zeto platform technology. I'll go over examples, and at the end, we'll talk a little bit about training and support in case you are a Zeto user, what's available for you. Also, at the end, we of course have Q&A. When you look at it, the cloud is at the center of everything that we do. Our hardware device is integrated into our Zeto Cloud platform, so we have real-time data streaming of a full montage EEG, ECG, video, other auxiliary inputs straight into the cloud within less than 100 millisecond delay. There it gets processed and then streamed to the user within a 1 to 200 millisecond delay. And it feels pretty much real time. You can access this cloud with any control interface. What we mean by that is any internet connected device that has an up-to-date web browser, ideally Chrome, that has the most drivers installed, the most features, but you can also use Microsoft Edge. The latest versions also work. And you can use that on any operation system. You can use this on Windows, on Apple, tablets, smartphones. Obviously, there is a limitation with screen size. Once you get to a smaller smartphone, it becomes not as much fun looking at these squiggly waves. But let's look a little bit more into this Zeto Cloud hub here, the center of all of that. What is that consisting? What does this consist of? So I'm going to spend the entire webinar more on this cloud, not so much on the hardware, but do feel free to ask questions about that also. So let's look at this. The structure really is, of course, the core of it is EEG acquisition and the features. You can schedule a patient, you can create your recording setups, so you can set up the amplifiers and the video. You have real-time EEG and video monitoring that's integrated. We have something called live join mode. I'll dive into these topics one by one within the next few minutes. But the center of it is really the EEG database that hosts data for EEG, video, auxiliaries, all the PHI, including attachments. Now, as with many databases, it really allows you to structure your user base. We have something called role-based user management, nested organization structures, device and user managements, long-term data storage, and that is all wrapped in a very strong cybersecurity package. So you have different authentication infrastructures that you can dial into. That might be, if you're at a hospital, more a topic for your IT team, but if you do happen to talk to them about us, just know that Zeto is third-party audited by the most established certification agencies. So we have a SOC 2 Type 2 and a High Trust R2 certificate, and that's following the NIST 800-53 protocols. Of course, that also includes HIPAA compliance. We're in over 200 clinical sites at the moment, many of which are hospitals. So we went through several IT reviews, some of them take 6 to 8 months reviews, in-depth reviews with IT teams. We're at the VA. We're at some of the largest hospital centers in the nation. So rest assured your data is secure, and you wouldn't be the first one using it. Now, once the data is recorded, so you have the ability to acquire new data using our device, and that's obviously interaction between what you're doing locally and features on the database. You also want to review it. So you have a number of EEG review features. The standard ones is data reviews, where you visualize your data on the screen and you can interact with it. Collaborative annotation is a cool feature that we think because it's somewhat unique. Many of you are probably familiar with this kind of Citrix system type of remote access of data where you're remote into a server or you're remote into a local computer via remote access tools, and there are a number of them out there, but they have some disadvantages and limitations. For example, it's harder for multiple individuals to access the same machine at the same time, to work on it on the same data set even at the same time. Now there are some workarounds, but Zeto is a native cloud. That means we don't need workarounds. By default, think of it like, for lack of a better uh, comparison, think of it as Netflix for EEG. So basically, it doesn't matter how many users you have accessing the movie, the movie being your EEG. You can have multiple tenants, multiple users at the same time interact with the same EEG data set without getting into each other's ways. You can use your own horizontal and vertical resolution and those type of things. And I'll just show you so it becomes a little bit more um, illustrative. Besides those more basic review features, we also have integrated trending and seizure detection. That's also FDA cleared. Last but not least, maybe more relevant for your providers and physicians, the Zeto Cloud offers a full end-to-end report writer. It's very customizable, and you'll be able to very quickly get to clinical reports that way, which of course then are saved, and you can integrate them with the EHR if needed. By default, we also offer third-party services. So that means if you are in a facility and you do not have enough neurologists to read on stat, or you have a limited EEG tech team where you might only have daytime coverage, but you need some help at night, we have third-party monitoring services that can join the EEG within a 30-minute delay for continuous video monitoring of the EEG. And of course, after the study is finished, if your own physicians are not available, you can also use one of our contracted third-party epileptologists to get a read. Now, that is an optional feature. That is something that accrues additional costs. But for some facilities, that's really the only way how they can offer the full end-to-end EEG diagnostics, because locally it's just really hard to find the right personnel. Last but not least, we have third-party import and integrations. What does that really mean? At the beginning, I said you record EEG data using our headset to get data into our database, into our cloud platform. Now you can add the same, you can also import data from other sources. Let's say your natives, your neon codons, your Cadwell systems. You export that data as an EDF or EDF plus, and you can import that data into our cloud also. So we can use the collaborative annotations, the trending, the seizure detection, all those things that are implemented in our cloud, but not have to use Zeto data. You can also use third-party data. And more applicable to researchers and science projects, we have a number of APIs and third-party apps and plugins. These are mostly not FDA cleared, which is why I'm not going to dive into those today. We clearly annotate them as not FDA cleared because we don't want any confusion there. These are not part of the standard installation package of our cloud, so many of you would not even see them. But if you are collaborating with researchers and they want to put their own code or custom analytics on our cloud, we have the ability to do so. The Zeto Cloud is a standalone product that we customarily offer along with our Zeto hardware, but you can completely use that without the hardware also. So let's dive into the EEG acquisition features. Patient scheduling. If you are working in a hospital, that's something where we can tie into an EHR and customize schedules in a way that what you see in your EHR, we see. For EEG setups, of course, you can configure your amplifier, your video, and something we call workspaces. This is a concept we didn't invent. A lot of other manufacturers have that also. So you configure your recording presets, so your recording settings, and you can use them over and over again. So if your routine EEG is customarily using 250 hertz with a certain montage, then you configure this in a workspace, and you don't have to always customize that. Along the same lines, a feature called workflows, where you can configure on-screen tech and patient instructions, and say, okay, in routine EEG, I'll always follow this script, I always follow this protocol. You can automate this on the Zeto Cloud also. Real-time EEG and video monitoring, that's pretty neat, because for local users, you can integrate multiple camera streams from local devices or from a pen-tilt zoom camera. A very popular feature is this so-called live join mode for remote users. So they have somewhat control over video, virtual Zooms, for example. They can do this co-annotation. And during the live recording, your physician, for example, can log into the data file and already start reviewing the patient data that has already been recorded while the study is still ongoing. It's a very popular feature, mainly needed in hospitals, not so much in private practices. And here's really what the recording setup page looks like. Very organized to, okay, what type of video stream do you want to have? What type of reference, sampling rate? What type of other additional data, like photic integration channels, ECG, head movement tracking, and you want a subject button. And then, of course, you can tie this to your existing patients. Zeto has a full patient database, so you can find patients that you have already recorded and don't have to retype all their PHI. You can select different headsets. Here, this is now for my demo account. I have access to a large number of headsets. Most hospitals, private practice, you might have 4 or 5 headsets to choose from. So you can very easily select the headset that you currently have in front of you. And our hardware always has a serial number very visible on the device, so you know exactly which device you want to stream to the cloud. Just some words about the video integration. I think it's pretty clear for a lot of people how the EEG might work. The headset's connected to the cloud. It streams EEG data in real time to the cloud. But how does the video work? Well, we have 3 real ways of making this possible. You can use your device camera. That means your cell phone integrated camera, your laptop integrated camera, your tablet integrated camera. And you can start the recording from that device, and that helps us grab that video stream from that device and join that with the EEG recording. On PCs or Macs, you can also use external USB cameras. Any off-the-shelf camera works, and you can synchronize that with the EEG data. For PCs, you can also use network cameras. Again, that's a little bit more in the IT discussion, but I know a lot of you are using video for your EEGs. So just know that these 3 types of video integrations are possible out of the box. And you do not need to buy this video hardware from us. So you don't need to buy certain laptops or certain phones from us. You don't need to buy certain webcams or pen-tilt cameras. You can use what you have, and we'll integrate it using your driver packages into our cloud. And just to show how you set this up, go to the cloud, to the options page, and you can just see what's available in your device. If you have multiple camera devices connected to your computer, no problem at all. You just integrate that. Workspaces, remember we talked a little bit about presets. You can create presets for certain situations, for, let's say, routine EEGs or inpatient recordings. You have different presets for recording pages, interpret pages, and what type of hardware setup you want to see. Some final words about the database. When I said role-based user management earlier, it might have been a new phrase, but what that really means is you're able to configure different user groups, different user rights and permissions. So you can set up techs and physicians with different rights, and that really makes it super easy to roll this out also in larger teams. Nested organization structure, that's a really popular feature. Let's say you have a main tertiary care site, and you have maybe 10, 15 satellite hospitals. Or also for private practices, you might have your main physician practice and you have 3 or 4 ancillary sites. Then you can set up the parent site as being able to see all the recordings that are coming in throughout your organization. But each individual satellite site would only see their own recordings. The same goes for device and user management. You can freely configure this based on where they're located or what user role they have. Long-term data storage is very affordable, seamless, and fast for us. Since you're already saving everything to a cloud, it's trivial for us to put this into a glacier storage or into a very affordable long-term data storage so you can hold on to that data for 10, 15, 20 years. Now, it's always cheaper to put on a thumb drive and put it somewhere in a drawer for the next 5 years. But who is there to say that the thumb drive still works and that you don't lose it or something? So in terms of features, cloud accessible, cyber secure data storage, we're pretty affordable. You can also integrate SSO or Active Directory support. If you're in a larger hospital, you might know this, where you log in to your local device, and through that authenticate yourself with all these different apps that exist. And that is a very powerful and popular feature for a lot of hospitals. And of course, for private practices, if you don't want to go SSO, there's also multi-factor authentications or different authentication apps you can use to secure your data in the platform itself. So this is really the landing page. This is the front door of our cloud. Is zetoserver.com. You authenticate yourself with your username and password. And then you see I have access to a lot of different sub-accounts through onboarding and training activities. But let's just go to my demo account for Zeto. This is a little bit of a dashboard that helps you see what was going on in this organization for the last 24 hours up to 30 days. This is not your database. That is more a way for you to see, okay, well, what has been happening. You can also now filter this based on who was the EEG tech or who recorded it. You can see, okay, I recorded a few recordings in the last 30 days, like 4 or 5 of them. But I haven't interpreted any of these, and none of them have a report attached. So they're all kind of in this recorded, but nothing has been done with it. The database itself is just a collection of data sets that have been acquired over time. And you have 2 views. You have a study view that shows you only the data sets, or you have a patient view. And there you can now search for a patient. I set myself up here as a patient, Florian S. And you see all the recordings that I've ever done on this specific installation of the cloud. And I can open one up. Let's use this one here at the bottom. And now you're able to see this recording. You see my video that I can now start playing. But now you see me setting up the headset. You see the head movement dummy here. So obviously as I'm moving, this dummy moves. And now you see me here after 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm finished with the setup, making some more adjustments. And here we go. So at about 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I think I was finished with the setup. So let's look into what I can do now. On the video side, I can create a secondary view. So that's just a copy of the first view. And I can do funny things like put one view on one eye, the other view on the other eye. And now as I'm reviewing, I can see each eye as a close-up, or I can just swap back and forth. Now, a few household items that you always have in every EEG review tool, you have the your ability to swap montages. Regardless what your recording montage was, you can always swap to another montage. It's pretty straightforward now for us to do. You have your horizontal and vertical resolution that you can select. Vertical you have here, and you can select how many channels you want to see. So you can only see a subset if you wanted to. Then, of course, you have your filter settings, low frequency filters, high frequency filters. You have something called a zero phase shift filter option, and that depends a little bit on your training and what devices you've used in the past. Some devices only offer forward filter options. That means when the filter runs across the data, it runs across it only once in a forward fashion, and that can create certain filter ripples. And I'll just show this real quick. Go back to 10 seconds per page. Here, let's just look at the standard blink in a bipolar montage. This is what it looks like in a forward filter. So there's a blink, and the filter creates this type of ripple. It takes 2 to 3 seconds for this ripple to be over. If I turn this zero phase shift on, what that does, it filters the data forward and backwards in a way that these filter ripples don't show up. So if I just now go back and forth, you see it's exactly the same data. Based on the type of filter used, you see either a filter ripple or not. So by default, this zero phase shift should be enabled on your end. But if you're one of our current users and it's not, let us know. We can make it so it's always enabled for you. So here you see blink, blink, eyes closed. And then I have the ability to start visualizing a few things. For example, I can look at a spectral decomposition. Now I'm looking at T602 and kind of see what my alpha looks like. Here I seem to have been very active at my alpha at 12.4 hertz. Under eyes closed, you see my eyes are also closed in this moment. And you can do this for different channels also. At this point, you can also choose to add annotations. You can either use keyboard shortcuts, which are hard to show in a webinar, but you can also place them via these one-button clicks. And when you hover over it, it also gives you the keyboard shortcut. So press A for annotation, and then PA, and you get awake, patient awake. APD is annotation patient drowsy, and those type of, and so forth. So you can do this. Obviously, you can also just create an annotation with annotation descriptions. And now you can turn the description on and off. So it's a neat function to even have longer notes in your data. And you can open up your annotation browser and jump from annotations back and forth. I can filter my annotations in a way that says only show me drowsies, or I can say show me everything but drowsy, in which case I type in minus drowsy, and now I see everything but drowsy. Other things that are meaningful for what we do, we have an FDA-cleared artifact reduction algorithm, and that's usually very neat to take a look at. So the red signal here actually signifies the raw data. The black signal indicates the artifact reduced data. And here you see I can change the overlay. I can also turn the artifact reduction on and off. This is in particular relevant, especially at the beginning when the signal might still be settling down and you still want to know, okay, is a seizure or no seizure? You'll see this really nicely, especially in the referential montage. So before and after, it takes good care of really obvious artifacts. I know some physicians like to review their data very quickly, very fast. So we have this playback feature where you can actually play back the data with up to 200 times the speed. So for 200 times, it kind of buffers the data a little bit, but then it's really, really fast. Too fast for me to read, but a 50x speed is actually pretty comfortable to read. And this way you can scroll through the data set pretty nicely. So let's talk a little bit about the report writer. can go to the study. Of course, you can change all the patient information and PHI and all that. You can add attachments, that's pretty neat. But most people at this point want to generate a report. We're using a very popular way of doing this. It's a collection of connected drop-down fields with meaningful clinical statements that the physician can very quickly put together, and that translates into a written report. This is now a healthy report. You can customize your logo here, no problem. And you can very easily make adjustments, maybe frequencies, maybe 7 to 9 hertz for that patient, or maybe you found a large number of shock waves that are left greater than right, frontal central distribution, and maybe high amplitude. And you see how this report becomes a lot more detailed. Now it talks about spike forms and large amounts of interruptural epileptic activity, blah, blah, blah. And you can do this for a lot of different things. You can do this for your sleep presets. You can do this for critical care patterns in ECG. And of course, you can also manually override all this. And that makes it very easy to use for a large group of physicians. And at the end, you can say it's finished, and you can disable, you can create a PDF here, download it, and have it ready to go. But I think for the recording setup, it's pretty straightforward. You can go here. I can turn on my headset real quick. You'll see it pop up. Depending how many headsets you have access to more or less of them. You can set up your camera presets, your reference presets, sampling rates, photo integration or not, head movement tracking, and then you can now link it to a patient. Let's link it to me, and it's pretty straightforward. You can even give the study a separate title. This is my headset now, and if I now hit record, so now you see as I'm moving the headset, it starts streaming data. It's pretty straightforward. During this, we have the ability to go to a scrollback mode. We've talked about that. We can review data that you've already recorded. Here, I had only hit the record button for 4 seconds. And now Lindsay is actually joining this data. You see at the top right, you see Lindsay Davis has joined the data stream live. So she can now actually place annotations, and we will be able to see this. Lindsay, can you place an annotation? Yes, so she placed a comment. It's called test, but I can also place annotations, and Lindsay can see that also. We have real-time trendings here also. Obviously now they're going to be a little bit weird because it's not real data, but you see here in real time where the trendings show up. So the user interface for live real-time recordings is identical to that of offline recordings, so it makes it very trivial to interact. And actually, I have 2 camera streams on here right now. I have 2 cameras. One is my integrated camera, the other one is my USB camera. It just works out of the box pretty nicely. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the third-party services. We know that a lot of our customers are asking us for this. So what we have done is implemented APIs and plugins for third-party providers to join on a per patient on a data set level. We made this very trivial. Under the study tab, you can now request a remote read. You say, if I were to click yes now, then there would be a cascade of notification emails going in the back end to a reader group saying, hey, can you please start reading this? After 5 minutes, this order is final. You cannot cancel it anymore because it accrues fees. In the real-time mode, when we start recording here, let's just have another test data set real quick. You can also order a real-time monitoring. Let's see here. You can now also request a real-time monitoring service. Now, real-time monitoring, those are not physicians. Those would be registered EEG techs coming online within 30 minutes. maybe as a final takeaway, so where do we use Zeto Cloud? If you have the Zeto headset, obviously you'd be recording Zeto data with it. But if you don't have a Zeto headset, you can use it as a standalone cloud for third-party data integration. You can use it for long-term data management and storage. We can use it for collaborative projects. Remember, the role-based data management and user management is very, very well developed. So if you have a research project or something, you don't have to get access rights to all of the entire data set, only to a subset. And if you have third-party services you'd like to integrate, reading services or even analytical services, then the right plugins and APIs are in place to make this possible.